Come on.
Come forward!
Tell me when it's over. Look at that. Look at that. I want to go home.
I am I, the great and powerful. Who are you? Who are you?
Hello, and welcome to my cellar one more time. This will be coming out on the 14th, and there will be one on the 21st, but not one on the 28th. Taking a week off in between Christmas and New Year's. It would involve me doing one on the 20th, recording it on the 26th, and I don't see the chaos having subsided enough by then. Hey Tim, you know how you and Gary had Blue Sky Sessions? Do you know where the name Blue Sky came from? Was it from the 72 song I Can See Clearly Now, perhaps? No. It wasn't from there. It was a term that I applied to it mostly after we had them, because it fit the nature of what we were doing, seeing images in the clouds of future successes and what have you. So I just started calling them that, and I referred to them more often as that since we had them. So that's where. I'm familiar with the song, but whether or not it had some super subliminal way down, I don't know. I'm looking forward to hearing more about your library goals starting in January. Hope it is successful. Yes, I do too. I'm going to be going down there next week to talk to a couple of the principal movers and shakers at my branch and see what we can get going, get some posters made up. I would like to get it begun during January, at least begun during January. So we'll see how that goes. I want to toss some ideas around with them. Are we looking for only school-age players, or any age? We have to be careful there. If we limit one group to all school age, 10 to 18, or whatever we decide on, that's okay because they're all students playing together. But I'm not looking to mix age ranges, because I'm not going to vet people that want to play with kids. No. That abyss yawns wide. As far as detect spells go, I always allow clerics to be able to sense alignment naturally. For example, a temple of an evil deity would radiate a strong negative aura that a cleric would certainly pick up. Maybe even an average person would get the creeps. By the same token, a magic user can naturally be able to sense that an item has an arcane aura. The detect spell might increase the range at which the aura can be detected, or perhaps increase the accuracy of information acquired. As in, the low-level wizard picks up a dagger. If the dagger has some arcane magic, the magic user will feel it. Not the specific nature of the enchantment or how it functions, just, yep, this baby got some juju. That said, I'm of two minds regarding just how the players can determine the exact nature and capabilities of a given magic item. Sometimes it's as simple as cast detect magic, which you know that the dagger is enchanted to sense the presence of gems, and if you just think about finding gems while holding the dagger, it'll glow if gems are nearby. Okay, I like I like what you're doing with the sensing, because I've done that almost from the beginning, just picking up on vibes. So I thoroughly endorse that idea. One way that you can get clarification is go find an expert, which involves perhaps going to a larger inhabited area where such expert might reside, or if in the case of magic, you can create a story about a wizard who has a tower or a cavern, or whatever. You can make a little side adventure out of it, and you can put a cost to the knowledge. If you're dealing with a cleric, it could require, clerical stuff. It could require a heavy tithe to the local church. If it's a magical thing, well, the magic user may exact a price from you to give you the information that you're looking for. That's a lot of little strings that the DM can pull and play with and have a good time. We did that a lot in Lake Geneva, went to experts. That way you knew exactly. But there was a fee for the determination. We didn't just go in and say, hey, give me a quick essay on this. There was a fee involved. That's another way to bleed money out of a campaign. Because as a good DM, that is our goal, is to get back as much of that money as we can. Because, hey, life takes it from you. Building groups is something I've wanted to do for a while, albeit my attempts have been a cursed endeavor. However, my approach has always been set up a game based around NPCs being part of an adventuring guild in a small frontier town. Well, the first thing I notice here is always. You always use this setup. Perhaps you could find a better one. Just saying. Just saying. Automatically being in a guild has automatic restrictions and payoffs and all that good stuff, whereas you can have a more rollicky, frolicky, free-form style, staying away from that and just using a much shakier premise to all meet up and go have some fun. Well, let me clarify that. The players have the fun. The player characters just meet up and go do things. Don't want to be that. Don't want to have that one misconstrued. So you might have a problem right there at the beginning with your format and your setup. I'm just saying, might. They can go on almost isolated one-shots that suit drop-in, drop-out nature of gamers. Well, see, that drop-in, drop-out, I don't personally understand that, because I've never run a group or had a group that dropped in, dropped out willy-nilly. If they had to miss a week or an adventure or whatever, provisions were made, and it was never lightly done. So I don't understand what you're talking about, that nature. Okay, I haven't experienced that vibe. Let's see. Okay, you can call these your surface storyline with a subtle B storyline happening under the surface, linking them all. Then you can reach out to stores, libraries, groups around you to set other groups who share your old setting, like an old living setting. Well, I admire your your confidence in doing, attempting to do something like that. I do. But you need a strong group, a strong home group before you start reaching out. And if you're having the problems that you said earlier, you don't have one. Drop in, drop out shouldn't be. If you set a time and a day of the week to play that everybody agrees on, then everybody should be there. And, okay, real life happens, I understand that. But not very often. Not when it's an established, okay, this is when we do it. Now there's some more in another comment later that also I think is, well, we'll talk about it, but they have similar problems here. And no, you can't set it up between groups like a baseball league. Absolutely not. Why? Well, because Dungeon Master Clive just gives out crap like it's Monty Hall free holiday. Way too generous. He thinks he's doing it right. But with multiple DMs, you know, you're really looking to open a can of worms. Worms with nasty teeth. So, again, it's one of the reasons that we had stables of players. We had more than one player character going at a time. So if we wanted to go adventure somewhere else in a different part of Gary's world or whatever, we could. But it was with a different character. Okay. This was a comment in response to somebody recommending Golden Voyage of Sinbad as being fun, a fun movie and one of Ray Harryhausen's best. And this guy responded, "Yep, I love all those films. My film buff auntie showed them to her son and me on video in the mid-'80s, and they are one of our inspirations for our D&D gaming, which we started shortly after that." Yeah, a whole lot of people that got into D&D had that kind of vibe. Boy, my eye is red. What's wrong with it? Feels fine. They had that kind of swashbuckling vibe going into it. And Sinbad certainly is swashbuckling. And we all found our inspirations in different places. You found it in Sinbad. Somebody else found it in an Errol Flynn pirate movie. Somebody else found it in a Errol Flynn Robin Hood movie. Wherever you found it. I found it in old Italian sword and sandal movies. That's what I live for. They were, badly dubbed in that, but they were cool. All right. I would be curious. Okay, here's the one I was referring. I'd be curious about your perspective on this unique DM style. The group agrees on a campaign setting and starting locations. Everyone makes a character. Group plays weekly, with the DM running a 2-week arc. After that, next player becomes the DM and continues. No discussion or agreement on what the next arc is. For example, a potential hook or interesting NPC from arc number 1 comes back in arc number 4 as a new villain or sponsor all that perspective of the current DM. This rotating DM approach continues as long as the group is successful in having fun. Well, then the skeptic in me says it won't last very long. for the event, for the same reasons that I mentioned earlier about in disparity in running games. I'd be willing to bet that if there's twin DMs out there, they don't write the same adventure in the same way. Just my opinion, but I don't think. Again, the inequality of what might happen during that 2-week arc, which I don't quite understand. They're going to be exploring the ruins of Casa Doom for 2 weeks, and then the next guy's going to take over. He's going to lead them up out of Casa Doom and go somewhere else? Or is he then stuck with doing it in Casa Doom, which then means somewhere, somehow, there is a drawn map of Casa Doom to be played within. I see a whole lot of snags and snarls in that approach. Now, having said that, if you're doing it and having fun, okay. What do I know? Speaking of alignment and party dynamics, could you shed some light on Gary's thinking when he wrote an article for Dragon Number 9 entitled Varied Player Character and Non-Player Character Alignment in the Dungeons and Dragons Campaign? All right. From what I remember from what got him to write that, and no, I haven't gone back and read it. Don't care to. Because I think I'm pretty sure I remember why he asked me to run it. There were a number of things. It was trying to suggest that, hey, everybody doesn't have to be the same. And everybody that is of the same alignment doesn't have to act exactly the same. You can be good. You can be, just a side of not quite so good. Or you can be good like Dudley Do-Right. Okay? And he was trying to explain that, there are variations on a theme. He said it is not absolutely concrete for an individual over the course of a campaign to be, most organizations, okay. The part that is a bit bewildering is where he suggests that new players trying to make a character of a significantly different alignment than the characters of the strongest personalities at the table were being fragged by their own parties at a rate that would make Gary call it the most common problem. Then he suggested that new players be allowed to play the character under a false alignment. In fact, he says they should be carefully played that way until the character rises in level and strength. Well, so far, that depends on your DM. Okay, whether or not he's going to allow that type of false flag at his table. Yes, it was a problem of players fragging each other in that regard. When we say a problem, understand that as the creators of D&D and the propagators of the material, we were at the center of a hub of information. We were insistently aware of the fanzines and what was going on there, stuff on both coasts, trying to manipulate the evolution of the game in a way that we felt would have legs. I think we were pretty right. But be that as it may. So, was that going on? Yes. There was stuff about it in fanzines. There was stuff about it in letters that we were being sent. We got a lot of we got a lot of intimate details of people's campaign in letter form when the shit hit the fan. Hey, can they do that? Like, we're going to render judgments like the Supreme Court. Oh God, I hope better than the Supreme Court. Beginning to be somebody you're not. Okay. Let's see why that's got your shorts in a bunch. If you're the new guy at work and you're still feeling out your coworkers and deciding where their heads are at and where their loyalties lie, and etc., it's a lot easier for you to not swim against the tide right away. You'll get a truer nature not confronting. I'm not saying convert. So, okay, you want to become, your true goal is to be a neutral thief for hire. All right, or okay, we'll just take this. And I know it doesn't fit into number 9, but in any event, you want to become to become a thief, you had to become a fighter, and you had to be able to do other things. And so I would have no problem. I don't even care if they tell me at the beginning of the campaign or the beginning of their character's participation, this is what they're doing. I don't need to know that in advance. It's probably better I don't, so I don't inadvertently give it away. But if they want to appear to be one thing and then run down their flag and run up their true colors, that's okay. That's okay. I don't have a problem with that. If you as a DM want to punish them for that, well, I'm not going to tell you don't. I'm going to recommend that it might have been a clever ploy to not become one of those fragged in the beginning. Jolly Blackburn did a series strip in Knights of the Dinner Table where they're all playing in this giant MMORPG, and they hunt and prey on newbies coming into the entrance of the game. Well, it's kind of the same. They find a way to get around it and frag the guys trying to frag the newbies. Well, I'm okay with that. Life demands a balance. Let's see. Was killing other players' characters? Yeah, it did happen. And revealing what you really were when you could defend yourself, yeah, that's okay. It's very little different than playing along and deciding one day you're going to go to the dark side. You didn't have it preordained 2 years ago. You just decided to do it. It's up to the DM, depending upon where are you going from law to chaos? Are you going from good to evil? It's up to the DM to decide what that means. But yeah, it happened. I completely agree with going with whatever is working at your table with your group, but I'm not sure I can get behind dropping bombshell reveals on the DM midway through the campaign. Well, guess that depends on the bomb-proof nature of your DM. Lots of things can happen along the course of a campaign. I've seen lots of things happen, both in mine and in other people's. Go on for literally years, and then as one thing, one face, one persona, and then veer for whatever reason. Well, it's up to the DM to handle it. In a perfect world, what is your ideal Pantheon size? I don't care. In other words, we prefer there be a few good deities and a few evil ones? And even the neutral ones? Look, I don't care if they don't even name them. Okay? I don't. They can make up whatever they want. Good or evil, whatever they like. I don't care. I don't have an active campaign anymore where I'm going to have 12 new clerics coming into my game that I got to worry about them bringing in 12 new deities that, from their home plains or their steppes or their mountains or their caves or whatever. So I skirted around on tippy toes around a lot of that just because I didn't see the need for it. I didn't need it in my campaign. Maybe it's the same reason I don't go to church on Sundays anymore. And, what alignments, whatever. If a person were coming to me in a new campaign with a new character and saying, I worship the deity Snack Pack the corrugated, and these are his basic tenets. Don't hurt other people. Don't hurt yourself. Okay, that's all I need. I've just never felt the need, or to be completely honest, the complete comfort in getting into deities a whole lot. Do you have expectations of your cleric players acting in a certain way? Well, yeah, if they're gonna tell me who they follow and give me their basic tenets, and they're doing something that I don't think quite jibes with that, well, that's got to be considered. All right, new one. Right with you. Never cared to go beyond AD&D. Anything else doesn't concern me in the slightest. Next one. Maybe people are going back to the older editions because they're more fun. Nah, that couldn't be it. I think there's a couple of... curiosity has always been something that gamers have lots of, or else we wouldn't have been gamers in the first place, right? If I hadn't been in sixth grade, if Mike Gingler and I hadn't been curious about this new game that he bought with his allowance called D-Day, I wouldn't be here talking to you today, maybe. Sorry if that was rude, but it was delicious. I think curiosity has driven some of the people first exposed during the new to go back and see what's all the fuss about the old. Some of the old that play the old have gone and looked at what's all the fuss about the new. And I think that this is always going to happen. I've been presented with the loan of a new composite set of rules that supposedly has done a good blend of old and new together, and I'm interested to look through it. Whether or not it'll catch my fancy like Mahakeel did, who can say? Fun's where you find it, fun's where you make it. How do cults fit into medieval RPGs? What sociological reference can a DM call upon to account for cults in a medieval fantasy world awash with gods and demons? To be clear, I'm using the pejorative meaning of cult, derived from the Latin cultus, meaning worship, originally is describing society, conventional religions, or religious practice. Pejoratively, a cult is a group of people espousing novel religious ideas that are oppositional to. Okay. Do I know the history of cults during the Middle Ages? No. Is it anything I've studied much? No. So, what would my opinion be? I don't know. If you want to put something in like that as a starting out as a sidebar and developing into something else later, I could see a use for a cult if you unknowingly defiled their shrine or knowingly defiled their shrine. They could get pissed at you and want to come harm you for doing that. Particularly if you're a bunch of goody two-shoes out tromping through the woods, come upon a pagan nature shrine and destroy it because it's pagan. Yeah, I can see where a cult of naturists, nudists, that'd be interesting. Anyway, I could see where that you would tick off a cult. You could have it like that. You could have a cult hire you to do some horribly dangerous, go on some horribly dangerous adventure and do a dangerous job for them. So I could see them as tools, but little else. If the DM's world has a rich pantheon of gods and or demons, how can there be a conventional religious practice to which a new religion could be viewed as a cult? I don't know. I can't give you a follow-up when I've already said I don't know about it. A cult's what you want to make of it. If you're familiar with the game Illuminati, it's a card game. Many of the organizations represented in there could be classified as cults. Some of them are actually called cults. Cult narratives offer a lot of opportunities for fun, intriguing play. How do you feel about them as a gaming hook? There again, okay. I see them as either using the players by being their employers, or chasing the players because the players did something that ticked off the cult. So I can see uses for them, but I wouldn't spend 3 days writing up the tenets of the cult and who they worship and their religious practices and all that. It would be just kind of cult, capital C cult or small c cult. Okay, another comment on the intro. I think you've seen the last fancy one for a little while. Maybe something new after the first of the year. I'll have to talk with Jim. I never know what's coming. All right. Secondly, Jason Tondros, the guy who wrote the foreword in The Origins of D&D that people are losing their minds over. I was loaned a copy of that today, too. I'm going to read that foreword. He was asked if he expected the backlash among grognards who took offense, and he said he doesn't give consideration to grognards. Not you or Gary or anyone else specifically. In context, he's clearly talking about the folks that got all offended and not the majority of those who are older gamers and don't care. And to be honest, if had people say I was a bitter, one of those, I have to do this, it might be kiddies listening, and needed to burn in hell, I wouldn't give much consideration to them either. Big problem I see it is people are treating the D&D designers the same as WotC the company. WotC can pound sand. But those designers are grognards. They're all 50 plus who have been playing since the 1980s or even 70s. Yes, I've been playing since even the 70s. They don't make company policy. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to read that too. I don't know, to be honest, without even having read it, I don't know why anybody doing new edition stuff would give a damn what those old grogs cared. I wouldn't either. I don't believe that Gary or Dave, or to some lesser extent, Tramp or myself or Sutherland, I don't think that we should we shouldn't have our bust chiseled in a mountain somewhere. I don't believe that. We came together at a marvelous point in time. Many lines converged and intersected at that point in time. We carefully and craftily worked hard to build the hobby into what it has become today. But, you know, I don't want to be worshipped like Henry Ford. I don't. I'm gratified when people recognize some of the old stuff that I did, particularly Dragon Magazine. And but because I did Dragon Magazine, I don't feel that I should, you know, my face should be on a flag somewhere. And you're right, it's WotC. WotC can pound sand, quoting here. And there aren't too many of us grog designers left. Damn few. I know that in 6 weeks, I'll be 76. And I was one of the younger people during that period of time. So, yeah, we're dying out. Everybody dies. Every generation makes way for a new one. New wave up upon the sand. First, this one recedes, a new one comes up. It's the way of things. If you did something really significant, you can feel good for having done it. But shouldn't expect a monument on the beach. I feel real good about what we did. I feel delight at knowing all the people that have had all the fun they've had playing what we did all those many years ago. I was tickled pink when we had postage stamps with D&D on it. I was tickled pinker when the Time magazine thing came out. Every time I see a reference, whether it's on Jeopardy or an old Big Bang or a new program, Stranger Things, whatever, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I had a little part of it. I was just one small spice in the recipe. And I don't care what WotC thinks. I don't ever intend to buy any of the new books. Not going to buy WotC dice because they're bound to be overpriced. So, who cares? All right, now, okay, no holiday coming up. Okay, Yeah, I'm looking at my production dates, so it's next week that I wish you a happy holiday and a Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah and burn a log for Zoroaster a day. And if I got a Zoroastrian out there, I didn't mean to offend you on purpose. Just as an example. And before I piss off any more fire worshippers, I better say Kudodada Gobi. Hello, and welcome to my cellar.
The curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs. Still quite a feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Last man around when them rates went down. Calling Gary in that Lake Geneva town. Hey Gary, it's an awful mess. Let me edit, we'll have success. D&D and Dragon Magazine.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Magic missile, it's a mortar shell. Make it hit in the first level spell. Brought psionics to the game to attack that wizard's brain. DSR and fantasy, collection of micro armory. Titan with tramp under a tree, high as could be.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.